I'm Dr. Andrew Corbett, author of the most embarrassing book in the Bible. When it comes to studying the Bible, there's 3 or 4 things that every Bible student should do. And if you want to read the Bible and understand it, then I would encourage you to do these things. Number 1, read the Bible in books, not bits. The Bible is meant to be read as a whole. That will help us to get the context of what God is saying in the Bible. Secondly, when you read the Bible, use the Bible itself to interpret the Bible. There's a principle called Scripture interprets Scripture. So number 1, read the whole context. Number 2, allow Scripture to interpret Scripture. And the third thing will take a little bit of homework, a little bit of sweat, and that's discover the intended meaning of a passage. Today we read Scripture some 2,000–3,000 years removed from when the author wrote it. And we bring our modern meanings of concepts and metaphors and terms into the text. And that perhaps doesn't enable us to discover what the original author intended to say. Here's a tip on how you can do just that, discover the intended meaning of a passage. Don't just read from one English translation. I would suggest that you take one really good, solid, perhaps word-for-word literal translation that brings in the idioms and translates it into modern English. I would strongly recommend the English Standard Version of the Bible. I'd also recommend that you get something up the other end of the scale, and that would be something like the New Living Translation. And if you want to go right off the scale, then you can get something like the Message. Have a look at what they say. Sometimes they bring nuances that really convey the intended meaning of a particular verse or passage. Then you can go up the other end of the scale as well. Have a look at things like the NIV, and if you want to keep going down that scale, the New American Standard Bible. These translations bring just a different nuance to the text, and it will help you as you weigh up what the text is saying. Also, I would suggest that you get a really good set of Bible commentaries. The InterVarsity Press Bible commentaries are excellent, and I would encourage you to maybe get a set of those commentaries. They may be available in digital format online. You may even get one of the free Bible commentaries that are available on the internet, such as Matthew Henry's, which tends to be fairly devotional. That means he's more interested in how we apply the text than necessarily what the text means. But by simply doing those 3 things, read Scripture in context, allow Scripture to interpret Scripture. So for example, when I remember reading the Living Bible as a kid, and I read Revelation chapter 12 in the Living Bible, and it spoke of a dragon, and in the footnotes of the Living Bible it suggested that this dragon was actually the nation of China. The problem is you keep reading in the text and it tells us, Scripture actually tells us who the dragon is, and it's not China, it's actually referring to Satan. So we've always got to allow Scripture to interpret Scripture. And finally, discover the intended meaning of a passage. There is one more principle that I think will help us to understand the Bible well, and that is this: no single verse of Scripture should be interpreted to contradict the overall message of Scripture. This actually comes back to our first principle of understanding the Bible. Get the whole message first. Get the whole message. Then when you've got the whole message, you can pick up the tenor, the tone, the flavour of Scripture all the way through. If you do this, you'll be a better Bible student, you'll be able to hear when something's not quite right, and you'll be able to discern what is truth from error, because there's a lot of people who twist Scriptures as the Scriptures say would happen. I'm Andrew Corbett, I hope that helps.